Good evening, everyone. I want to talk about something that shakes the very foundation of what society has conditioned us to believe. A woman who walks alone without a husband is not weak, incomplete, or lost. She is whole. She is powerful. And she is unstoppable. From the moment we are born, we are told a story that says a woman's life must revolve around marriage, that her worth is defined by her husband, that her success is measured by the family she builds. But let me tell you today, that story is outdated. It is time to write a new one. A woman who walks alone is a woman who dares to challenge the norm. She does not wait for a prince to save her, she becomes her own hero. She does not need validation from a ring on her finger. Her dreams, ambitions, and achievements are enough. Strength is not found in dependency, it is found in self-belief. The world will question you. They will ask, why are you alone? But remember, being alone does not mean being lonely. It means being free, free to chase your dreams, free to live on your own terms, free to choose your own happiness. To every woman out there walking alone, I say this: walk with pride, walk with your head held high. Walk knowing that your journey is your own, and you owe explanations to no one. A woman is born into a world that has already written a script for her life. From the moment she takes her first breath, society begins to weave a story around her, a story that dictates who she should be, how she should behave, and ultimately who she should belong to. The world tells her that her purpose, her fulfillment, and her worth are tied to marriage. It tells her that no matter how brilliant, talented, or strong she is, she will always be incomplete without a man by her side. But let me tell you something, those are not her words. That is not her truth. That is the weight of a belief system built to control her, to limit her, to keep her from realizing that she on her own is enough. She walks through life hearing whispers of what she should be. Find a good husband, they say. Settle down before it's too late. A woman without a man is like a bird without wings. But what they don't realize is that she already has wings powerful enough to soar through the storms of life, wings strong enough to carry her above the expectations of a world that refuses to see her as whole. She was never waiting for someone to give her flight. She was only waiting for the moment she would realize that she was born to fly. They tell her she needs protection, that a woman alone is vulnerable, that she is fragile without a husband to shield her from the world. But let me ask you, who protected the women who built empires? Who shielded the women who changed history? Who stood beside the women who dared to walk through fire, break chains, and reshape the world? No one. They stood alone, they fought alone, and they conquered alone. Because strength does not come from the hand that holds yours. It comes from the fire that burns inside you. She does not need someone to validate her existence. She does not need a ring to prove her worth. She does not need society's permission to live the life she was meant to live. Because the truth is, she was never meant to belong to anyone but herself. And that terrifies the world. They fear the woman who walks alone because she is proof that they were wrong all along. She is proof that a woman does not need a last name to be remembered. She is proof that a woman does not need a man to be powerful. She is proof that a woman, standing in the full force of her own light, is unstoppable. They will try to break her. They will call her names. They will say she is arrogant, difficult, unlovable. They will try to make her believe that choosing herself is a mistake. But let them talk. Let them whisper. Let them shout. Because the only voice that matters is the one inside her, the voice that says, you are more than they will ever understand. She will walk into boardrooms, into battlefields, into places where no one like her has ever dared to stand, and she will not ask for permission. She will carve her own path, build her own legacy, and leave behind a story that will inspire generations to come. And when they ask her, why did you never settle down? She will simply smile and say, because I was too busy rising. Let them think she is alone. Let them believe she is incomplete. Let them watch in disbelief as she rises higher than they ever imagined possible. Because in the end, she does not need them to understand. She does not need their approval. She does not need their validation. She only needs one thing, herself, and that, my friends, is the most powerful thing in the world. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she stands at a crossroads. One path is easy, familiar, expected. It is paved with the voices of those who tell her what she should do, who she should be, and what is right for her. The other path is untamed, uncertain, and terrifying to those who fear a woman who thinks for herself. And that is where the magic happens, because the woman who dares to walk that path chooses something that most never do. She chooses herself. Self-empowerment is not given. It is not handed down. It is taken, claimed, and owned with an iron will. A woman who empowers herself does not wait for the world to recognize her worth. She declares it. She does not ask for permission to exist loudly, to dream fearlessly, to live unapologetically. She looks into the mirror and says, I am enough. I have always been enough. They have taught her that her power lies in how much she can sacrifice for others, that her greatness is measured by how much she can endure in silence, that her success means nothing if it is not validated by the approval of society. But let me tell you something, she was not born to shrink herself to fit into a box someone else built. She was not put on this earth to dim her light so others could shine. She was made to take up space, to shake the ground she walks on, to be a force that cannot be ignored. They will tell her, you cannot do this alone. She will smile and say, watch me. They will say, you are too bold, too ambitious, too much. She will laugh and say, too much for whom? They will whisper, what if you fail? And she will whisper back, what if I fly? There is nothing more dangerous than a woman who has realized she needs no one to save her. Nothing more powerful than a woman who has looked at her own scars and decided they are not symbols of weakness, but marks of resilience. Nothing more unstoppable than a woman who wakes up every morning not seeking approval, but chasing her own destiny. She is the woman who invests in herself, who builds her own dreams, who knows that no relationship, no title, no external validation will ever define her. She does not live to be chosen, she chooses herself. She does not wait for opportunities, she creates them. She does not rely on luck, she builds a foundation so strong that even when the storms come, she does not break. Let the world wonder how she does it. Let them question how she stands so tall, so fearless, so unshaken. Let them misunderstand her confidence for arrogance, her independence for rebellion, her strength for defiance. She owes no explanations, no justifications, no apologies. She is not here to make others comfortable with her power, she is here to own it, fully and completely. And when they ask her, how did you become this woman? She will simply smile and say, I stopped waiting for someone to tell me who I am. From the moment she takes her first steps into the world, they begin teaching her how to fit in. They tell her how to sit, how to speak, how to behave, how to make herself agreeable, likable, acceptable. They teach her that her strength lies in obedience, that her worth is tied to how well she conforms. And then, when she dares to question, to step out of line, to carve her own way, they call her rebellious, difficult, and out of control. But what they do not understand, what they fear the most, is that she has not lost control. She has taken it back. They built traditions, not to honor her, but to contain her. They wrote rules, not to guide her, but to cage her. They say this is how it has always been. But she looks them in the eye and says, then it is time for change. She was told that her strength is found in how well she follows, how much she can endure without complaint, how silently she can bear the weight of expectations placed upon her shoulders. But what if strength was never meant to be quiet? What if real strength is loud, bold, fearless? What if true strength is not in submission but in defiance? What if a woman's greatest power is in her ability to stand up and say, no more? They will tell her that breaking traditions is disrespectful, that questioning old beliefs is dangerous, that challenging the system is reckless. But she does not live for their approval. She does not need their permission to unlearn the lies they forced upon her. She does not fear being different, being bold, being a force that disrupts everything they thought was unshakable. They will call her names, they will say she has forgotten her place, but she knows the truth. She was never meant to have a place chosen for her. She was meant to create her own. She does not exist to uphold outdated customs that serve no one but those who fear her freedom. She was not born to be small, to be silent, to be told how to live. She was born to be wild, untamed, limitless. Let them talk. Let them clutch their pearls and shake their heads. Let them say she is too much, too fearless, too unafraid. Because she is not here to make them comfortable. She is not here to play a role written for her by those who do not understand her fire. She is here to burn down the walls that have held her back. She is here to set ablaze every expectation that tried to contain her. She is here standing tall, standing strong, standing in the full power of who she was always meant to be. And when they ask her, "Why do you refuse to follow the path we have laid out for you?" They look at her and assume that because she walks alone, she must be lonely. They whisper behind her back, their voices soaked in pity, saying, "Poor thing, she has no one." They think solitude is something to be ashamed of, that a woman without a man beside her must be lost, miserable, incomplete. But they do not know her. They do not understand what it means to be a woman who stands on her own. She does not fear being alone because she has learned something the world refuses to accept. Solitude is not emptiness, it is power. It is the power to know herself without distraction, to hear her own voice above the noise, to live on her own terms without compromise. The woman who walks alone is not weak. She is not abandoned. She is not waiting to be saved. She is free. They say a woman's life is complete only when she belongs to someone. But she smiles because she knows the truth. She belongs to no one but herself. She does not live for the gaze of others, does not need approval to feel worthy, does not crave validation from a world that does not know her fire. She is whole, not because someone else completed her, but because she never needed completing. She watches as they settle, as they shrink themselves to fit into spaces too small for their dreams, as they trade their wings for cages built out of expectations. And still they look at her with questioning eyes, wondering how she finds happiness in her solitude. But they do not see what she sees. They do not know what it feels like to wake up every day knowing that every choice, every decision, every victory belongs only to her. She walks into restaurants alone, travels the world with nothing but her dreams, laughs freely without needing permission. She does not sit quietly waiting for an invitation to life. She takes it, seizes it, owns it with the kind of confidence that shakes the ground beneath her feet. She does not fear silence because in that silence she has met the strongest version of herself. They ask, "Don't you ever get lonely?" She asks back, "Why would I, when I have myself?" They do not understand that loneliness is not found in the absence of people, it is found in the absence of self. She has built a home within herself so strong, so unbreakable, that she never feels like she is missing anything. She does not need constant company to feel alive. She does not need to be surrounded to feel seen. They call her different, strange, unorthodox. They cannot comprehend a woman who does not crave dependence, who does not define herself by her relationships, who does not measure her worth by the love she receives from others. But she does not exist for their understanding. She is not here to fit into their mold. She is here to be everything they never expected. Let them think what they will. Let them assume, let them judge. Let them misunderstand. It does not matter. Because while they spend their days questioning her choices, she is out there, living fearlessly, laughing loudly, and embracing the kind of freedom they will never know. Because she is not lonely, she is alive, she is radiant, she is unstoppable. She walks into a room and the air changes. People glance at her, some with admiration, some with curiosity, and others with judgment. They try to place her, to categorize her, to define her by something familiar, but she is unlike anything they have ever seen. She does not fit into their boxes, does not follow their script, does not seek their validation. She is a woman who has chosen her own identity, and that terrifies them. From the moment she was born, they tried to tell her who she was. You are someone's daughter, someone's sister, someone's future wife. They spoke of her in relation to others, as if her existence needed to be tethered to someone else's for it to matter. But what they failed to understand is that she was never meant to be defined by anyone but herself. She is not a reflection of the roles they assigned to her. She is not just a supporting character in someone else's story. She is the author of her own. They said a woman should be soft, delicate, agreeable. She learned to be fierce. They told her a woman's greatest achievement is marriage. She built a life so extraordinary that marriage became just an option, not a necessity. They warned her, no one will accept a woman who is too independent, too outspoken, too ambitious. And yet she accepted herself fully and completely. She has spent years shedding the layers of expectations placed upon her, stripping away everything that does not belong to her, carving out a version of herself that is raw, real, and unapologetically hers. She is not afraid to stand alone, to be misunderstood, to walk away from traditions that do not serve her. Because she has discovered something more valuable than acceptance, she has discovered freedom. They look at her and wonder, how can she be so confident? Because she has built herself from the ground up. Because she has fought for every piece of the identity she now wears with pride. Because she has stood in front of mirrors, broken and uncertain, and told herself, you are enough. Because she has risen from places where she was told to sit quietly and wait, and instead she claimed her space. She walks with a fire in her soul, not because life has been easy, but because she has survived everything meant to break her. She knows who she is, and that makes her unstoppable. She does not introduce herself as someone's wife, someone's daughter, someone's anything. She introduces herself as herself. And that is enough. Let them wonder. Let them whisper. Let them struggle to understand a woman who refuses to be defined by anyone but herself. It does not matter. Because while they are busy trying to fit her into a mold, she is out there breaking them all. She walks with a purpose that is entirely her own. Every step she takes is a declaration, a silent revolution against a world that tried to tell her who she should be. She has learned to dream for herself, to build for herself, to thrive for herself. And yet, everywhere she turns, she hears the same question again and again, dripping with judgment, wrapped in concern, disguised as curiosity. But who will take care of you? They assume that because she walks alone, she must be helpless, fragile, vulnerable. They believe that without a husband, she has no shield, no protector, no one to carry the burdens of life alongside her. They pity her strength instead of admiring it. They mistake her independence for isolation. They assume that a woman without a man must be struggling, must be incomplete, must be in need of saving. But she has long stopped waiting for a savior. She is her own hero. She does not need someone to hold her hand through life. Her hands are busy building a world she loves. She does not wait for someone to provide for her. She creates abundance with her own effort, her own brilliance, her own relentless will. She is not afraid of hard work, of challenges, of standing alone in the face of uncertainty. Because she knows something they do not. She has always been capable of taking care of herself. They tell her, but life is hard for a woman alone. She smiles because she knows the truth. Life is hard for every woman, whether she walks alone or not. But at least in her solitude, she chooses her struggles. She faces them on her own terms. She does not suffer in silence to meet someone else's expectations. She does not endure unhappiness for the sake of appearances. She does not stay in places that diminish her, just to say she has someone beside her. She does not fear the unknown, because she has been through darkness before, and she emerged stronger every time. She has fallen and risen, broken and rebuilt, lost and found herself over and over again. She does not ask, who will take care of me? She asks, who can stop me? She is the woman who handles her own life with a grace that defies logic. She pays her own bills, makes her own choices, fights her own battles. She stands tall, unshaken, unafraid. When the world tries to remind her of all the reasons why she should need someone, she reminds them of all the reasons why she doesn't. They say one day you will regret not having someone by your side. She laughs because she has never been alone. She has herself. And she is more than enough. Let them question. Let them doubt. Let them wonder how she does it all without crumbling. She does not owe them an explanation. She does not need their approval. She is proof that a woman can walk through life without waiting for permission, without seeking validation, without needing a hand to hold, because the only hand she ever truly needed was her own. They look at her and wonder where her strength comes from. They see her standing alone, fearless, untamed, and they cannot understand how she does it. They search for cracks, for moments of weakness, for proof that she secretly longs for the life they expected her to have. But they will find nothing, because the strength she carries is not borrowed, not given, not dependent on anyone else. It is hers. Earned, built, sharpened like a blade through the fire of every battle she has fought alone. They ask her, but aren't you afraid? Afraid of what? Of facing the world without someone to lean on, of walking a path unknown, unwritten, without a safety net. She has walked through storms before. She has stood in the fire and refused to burn. She has faced nights so dark she thought she would never see the light again. But she did. And she learned something powerful. Fear is nothing compared to the regret of a life lived in someone else's shadow. They try to remind her of all the things she is missing. Wouldn't it be easier if you had someone to share your burdens with? But what they don't realize is that her strength was never meant to be shared, to be softened, to be made palatable for someone else's comfort. She was not built for easy. She was built for extraordinary. She has seen women shrink themselves, silence themselves, give away pieces of their power just to be chosen. She has watched them make themselves small to fit into the spaces they were given, to be loved, to be accepted. But she refuses. She refuses to give up her fire in exchange for security. She refuses to dim her light so that others do not feel overshadowed. She refuses to believe the lie that she must be half of something to be whole. She does not wake up every morning wondering who will stand beside her, who will carry the weight with her, who will fight her battles. She wakes up knowing that she is enough, that she is capable, that she has everything she needs within her. She does not need a shield, she is the warrior. She does not need saving, she is the storm. They tell her, you are strong now, but one day you will be tired. She smiles because they do not understand. They think her strength is something temporary, something fleeting, something that will fade when she grows weary. But they do not know her. They do not see the fire in her eyes, the way she rises no matter how many times life tries to knock her down. She has built herself from nothing. She has walked through ruins and made them her kingdom. She does not run from exhaustion, she thrives in it. She stands tall not because life has been easy, but because she has learned to carry her burdens with grace. She does not fear solitude because in solitude she found herself. She does not seek validation because she validated herself the moment she chose her own path. And when they ask her, but what if you fail? She laughs and says, what if I fly? Let them wonder. Let them question. Let them doubt. It does not matter. Because while they wait for someone to give them strength, she has already found hers. While they hesitate, afraid to walk alone, she has already conquered mountains. While they dream of being rescued, she is out there saving herself. She is not just strong, she is unbreakable. She is not just surviving, she is thriving. She is not waiting, she is already living. They say a woman's worth is measured by the role she plays in other people's lives. They say she is valuable if she is a wife, a mother, a caretaker. They say she is successful only if she is loved, admired, accepted by society's standards. They say she must give, sacrifice, mold herself into something others can understand. But she has heard enough. She is done being told what makes her valuable. She knows her worth, and it is not defined by anyone but herself. She does not seek validation in the eyes of others. She does not wait for applause, for approval, for someone to tell her she is enough. She is not here to be liked. She is not here to be agreeable. She is here to live, to thrive, to take up space without asking for permission. She is here to create a life so full, so rich, so wildly her own, that even if the world refuses to recognize her worth, it does not matter because she recognizes it herself. They tell her a woman should be loved, but she does not measure her life by how many people love her. She measures it by how deeply she loves herself. She does not need someone to complete her because she was never incomplete. She does not need someone to choose her because she has already chosen herself. She does not need to be desired because her power does not lie in being wanted, it lies in being unstoppable. They whisper behind her back, she is too much, too independent, too opinionated, too fierce, too unwilling to settle. But she has no interest in making herself smaller so others feel comfortable. She will not apologize for being strong. She will not dim her light so others do not feel overshadowed. She will not soften her edges to fit into hands that were never meant to hold her. She has built herself from the ground up. She has risen from places where she was told to sit quietly and wait. She has fought for everything she has, not because she needed to prove anything to the world, but because she owed it to herself to become everything she was meant to be. She is not afraid of being alone. She is not afraid of walking away from anything that does not serve her. She is not afraid of standing in her full power, even if it makes others uncomfortable. They say, but won't you regret this? Won't you look back and wish you had followed the path laid out for you? She smiles because she knows something they do not. The only regret she will ever have is if she had listened. If she had played small. If she had let fear dictate her choices. If she had settled for a life that did not set her soul on fire. She refuses to let her worth be determined by anyone but herself. She refuses to let society dictate what success looks like for her. She refuses to live in fear of judgment, of whispers, of the expectations of those who do not understand her fire. She is not waiting to be accepted. She is not waiting to be chosen. She is not waiting for permission. She is already everything she was meant to be. Let them question. Let them doubt. Let them wonder how she does it, how she moves with such confidence, how she stands so firmly in her own worth. It does not matter, because she knows who she is. She knows what she is capable of. True confidence is choosing your path without fear of judgment. It is standing in the eye of the storm, knowing the world will throw its doubts, its opinions, its expectations at you, but refusing to flinch. It is looking at every naysayer, every critic, every person who says, but that's not how it's done, and responding with nothing but action. Because a truly confident woman doesn't explain herself, she proves herself. She walks into a room, and the room adjusts to her presence, not the other way around. The world has always been quick to judge a woman who dares to stand alone. They whisper, they speculate, they question. Why is she alone? Why hasn't she settled down? Is she too difficult, too independent, too ambitious? They try to shrink her down, make her doubt herself, make her feel as though she's missing something. But a woman who truly knows her worth doesn't shrink for anyone. She doesn't apologize for her choices. She doesn't lower her voice to make others comfortable. She doesn't explain why she chooses to walk her own path, because she knows that those who understand don't need an explanation. and those who judge will never deserve one. They tell you that you need validation, that a woman's life is incomplete without someone by her side, that you need permission to dream, permission to rise, permission to lead. But who gave them the authority to decide your worth? Who decided that your success should be measured by someone else's presence in your life? The only permission you ever needed was your own. The only voice you ever had to listen to was the one inside you that whispers you were born for more. Confidence is not about never being afraid, it is about never letting fear make your decisions. There will be nights when the weight of solitude feels heavy, when the noise of the world feels deafening, when you wonder if maybe, just maybe, they were right. But then you remember who you are. You remember every battle you fought, every storm you've survived, every moment you stood up when the world expected you to fall. You remind yourself that you did not come this far just to be defined by someone else's expectations. You were never meant to fit into a mold. You were never meant to be just another name on a list of expectations. You were never meant to live according to someone else's timeline. You are fire. You are thunder. You are the force that disrupts the status quo. And those who cannot understand your journey are simply not meant to walk beside you. A confident woman does not chase approval. She does not wait for applause. She does not seek permission to be great. She builds, she creates, she rises. She moves forward even when no one is cheering, even when the path is uncertain, even when the only hand she has to hold is her own. Because she knows that real strength is built in solitude. That greatness is forged in the moments when no one is watching. That empires are not built with the permission of the weak, but with the determination of the fearless. They will say she is too bold, too outspoken, too unafraid. Let them. They will say she is too independent, too ambitious, too much. Let them. Because a woman who knows her worth does not make herself smaller to fit into someone else's comfort zone. She does not step back to let someone else lead the way. She does not silence her own dreams so others can feel more secure. She walks forward, she speaks her truth, and she owns every single part of her journey. They say a woman alone is a woman in need. But the truth is, a woman alone is a woman in power. A woman alone is a woman who cannot be controlled. A woman alone is a woman who has found her strength, her voice, her purpose. She does not walk alone because she has no choice. She walks alone because she chooses to. Because she refuses to settle for anything less than what she deserves. Because she would rather walk alone on the path of greatness than be accompanied on the road to mediocrity. Let them judge. Let them doubt. Let them question. And then let them watch as you rise. Let them see what happens when a woman refuses to be limited, refuses to be tamed, refuses to be anything other than the force of nature she was born to be. Let them witness the power of a woman who chooses her own path, who writes her own story, who never asks for permission to shine. A strong woman doesn't wait for permission to shine, she creates her own light. She doesn't sit in the shadows, waiting for someone to notice her brilliance. She doesn't ask the world if she's allowed to take up space, to dream, to rise. She simply does. Because she understands that waiting for permission is a game designed to keep her small, a trick played by those too afraid to witness her power. Since the beginning of time, the world has told women to dim their light, to be softer, quieter, more agreeable. Don't be too bold. Don't be too ambitious. Don't dream too big. But what happens when a woman refuses? What happens when she stops seeking approval and starts setting the world on fire with her brilliance? What happens when she steps out of the shadows and claims her place at the top unapologetically, fearlessly, completely? They will tell you to wait. They will tell you that your time will come, that your success will be easier if you just follow the rules, if you just stay patient, if you just let others decide when you're ready. But a woman who understands her own power does not wait. She does not ask, is it my time yet? She does not seek validation from a world that has never understood the magnitude of her potential. She takes her moment. She steps forward. She stands tall. She announces herself not with words, but with actions so undeniable that the world has no choice but to take notice. She is not intimidated by those who doubt her. She does not crumble under the weight of criticism. She does not let rejection define her. She understands that every great force in history has been met with resistance, that every true leader has faced opposition, that every woman who has ever dared to shine has been told to dim her light. But she also knows this: the sun does not ask for permission to rise. It does not seek approval before it sets the sky on fire. It simply shines brilliantly, powerfully, endlessly, and so does she. Some will call her arrogant. Some will call her difficult. Some will say she is too much. But what they fail to realize is that she was never meant to be less. She was never meant to be ordinary. She was never meant to blend in. She was built to stand out, to lead, to create, to inspire. And she refuses to apologize for the way she was made. She understands that greatness is never given, it is taken. That power is not something the world hands out freely. It is something that must be claimed, owned, embodied. And she does not hesitate. She does not wait for an invitation to the table. She builds her own. She does not ask for a place in the conversation. She starts her own. She does not beg for recognition. She proves again and again that she is undeniable. There will be moments when the world tries to convince her otherwise. Moments when they tell her to settle, to conform, to be satisfied with less than she deserves. Moments when the voices of doubt, both external and internal, try to shake her. But she does not break. She does not bow. She does not surrender her brilliance for the comfort of others. She reminds herself that she is not here to be small. She is here to be limitless. They will tell her that success is not meant for her, that leadership is not meant for her, that power is not meant for her. But she laughs because she knows better. She knows that success is not reserved for the privileged few, it belongs to those who refuse to give up. She knows that leadership is not about titles, it is about influence, about vision, about the courage to go first. She knows that power is not something to be given, it is something to be taken. And she is not afraid to claim what is hers. She is the woman who does not wait for doors to open, she breaks them down. She is the woman who does not accept no as an answer, she finds another way. She is the woman who does not lower her standards to fit into a world that was never designed for her. She rises and she makes the world adjust to her presence. She is a force that cannot be ignored, a presence that cannot be denied, a power that cannot be contained. She does not wait for permission. She does not seek approval. She does not ask the world if she is allowed to shine. She simply steps into her greatness unapologetically, fearlessly, completely. And so to every woman who has ever been told to wait, to shrink, to silence herself, hear me now, your time is not coming. Your time is already here. You do not need approval to chase your dreams. You do not need validation to stand tall. You do not need permission to shine. You are the permission. You are the power. You are the force the world has been waiting for. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them question. And then let them watch. Watch as you rise beyond their expectations. Watch as you build a life so bold, so beautiful, so extraordinary that their whispers fade into nothingness. Watch as you prove, not with words, but with undeniable, unstoppable action, that you were never meant to be ordinary. You are not walking alone. You are leading the way. You are not in the shadows. You are the light. You were not made to be small. You were made to be limitless. Now go stand in your power, walk your path with unshakable confidence, and set the world on fire. And so, to every woman listening today, to every soul that has ever been made to feel like she is too much or not enough, to every heart that has been burdened by the weight of expectations, hear me and hear me well. You do not need permission to be great. You do not need validation to dream. You do not need approval to rise. Your worth is not determined by the world's opinions, but by the fire that burns within you. Let them call you difficult. Let them say you are too ambitious, too independent, too bold. Let them whisper, let them doubt, let them question. And then let them watch. Watch as you rise beyond their limitations, as you carve a path so powerful, so undeniable, that their words turn into silence. Watch as you take up space, as you own your journey, as you create the life you deserve, not by asking, not by waiting, but by claiming what was always meant to be yours. You were never meant to be small. You were never meant to fit into their mold. You were born to disrupt, to transform, to break every barrier placed before you. You are not just walking alone, you are leading the way. You are not in the shadows, you are the light. And when you shine, you give others permission to shine too. So walk with your head held high. Speak your truth without fear. Take every step with power, with grace, with unshakable confidence. Because this is not just your journey, this is your legacy. And the world will remember you not for the moments you stayed silent, not for the times you conformed, but for the times you stood tall, took the risk, and set the world on fire. And so, I say this once more, not as a mere statement, but as a truth that must be felt in your bones. You do not need permission to be extraordinary. You were never meant to be a supporting character in someone else's story. You were never meant to be a spectator in your own life. You are the main event. You are the fire, the force, the storm that cannot be tamed. They will try to put you in a box, try to define you by their standards, try to tell you what is acceptable, what is expected, what is right. But tell me, who wrote these rules? Who decided that a woman's greatness should be measured by anything other than the limitless power within her? Let them talk, but you walk. You rise, you become. There will be moments when the weight of solitude feels unbearable, when the journey feels longer than you imagined, when the voices of doubt creep in like shadows in the night. But when that moment comes, stand still, close your eyes, and remind yourself of this: you have already come too far to turn back. You are stronger than every doubt, greater than every fear, and destined for more than the world has ever imagined. And when they tell you to be careful, to tone it down, to follow the rules, smile and keep moving forward. Because the ones who change the world do not follow, they lead. They do not wait for doors to open, they build their own. They do not ask, am I allowed to shine? They shine anyway. You are not here to fit in. You are here to stand out. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to be undeniable. You are not here to play small. You are here to take up space, to own your power, to claim the life that was always meant to be yours. So go with fire in your heart and purpose in your soul. Speak loudly, walk boldly, live fearlessly. And when the world looks back, they will not remember the moments you hesitated. They will remember the moments you stood tall, walked alone, and still you conquered. And so I speak now to the woman who has been doubted, dismissed, and underestimated. To the woman who has been told to wait, to stay in line, to follow a path designed by others. To the woman who has felt the weight of expectations pressing down on her shoulders, urging her to shrink, to be less, to silence the fire within her. I say this to you with every ounce of truth and power. You were never meant to be ordinary. You were never meant to ask for permission to exist, to dream, to create, to lead. You were never meant to live by the rules that were written to contain you. You are not here to be agreeable, to be palatable, to be anything less than the force of nature you were born to be. They will call you rebellious. They will say you are difficult, that you are too ambitious, too opinionated, too strong-willed. Let them. They will wonder why you don't fit in, why you refuse to compromise, why you dare to stand alone instead of waiting for someone to walk beside you. Let them wonder. They will question your choices, your path, your courage. They will say, a woman should not walk this road alone. They will say she will regret this. They will say she is too bold, too fearless, too much. Let them talk. Let them doubt. Let them judge. and then let them watch. Because one day the very people who questioned you will look back and realize you never needed their approval. They will see that while they were waiting for someone to give them permission, you were already building, already achieving, already rising. While they were measuring their worth by the validation of others, you were setting your own standards, writing your own legacy, defining your own success. Because a woman who understands her power does not beg to be seen, she makes the world stop and take notice. She does not wait for the perfect moment, she takes the moment and makes it perfect. She does not lower her voice to make others comfortable, she speaks, she commands, she leads. They will say she is alone, but what they don't see is that she is not alone, she is free. Free from expectations that do not serve her. Free from limits placed upon her by those who fear her strength. Free from a life that asks her to be anything less than the extraordinary being she was created to be. And when she walks not in fear, not in hesitation, but in power, in conviction, in fire. In the undeniable truth, she is enough, she has always been enough, and she will always be enough. The world will try to make her believe otherwise. They will tell her that she needs someone to complete her, someone to validate her existence, someone to make her feel whole. But she will smile, because she knows the truth. She was never incomplete to begin with. She was never lacking. She was never in need of saving. She is not a half waiting to be made whole. She is already whole, already powerful, already unstoppable. And so she keeps walking, not because she has to, but because she chooses to. She walks away from limitations, from expectations, from the doubts of those too afraid to follow their own path. She walks toward her purpose, toward her power, toward a future that belongs to her and her alone. And in the end, when the world looks back at her journey, they will not remember the whispers, the judgments, the doubts. They will remember the woman who did not wait, the woman who did not hesitate, the woman who did not ask for permission to shine. They will remember the woman who set the world on fire.